Welcome to episode 188 of the Custom Apparel Startups podcast. My name is Mark Vila, and today I'm here with Jess Santiago.
Hello.
Hi. And Jess is on the ColDesi marketing team with us, and she's been with the company, with ColDesi, over 2 years now.
Yep.
Working marketing. So tell us, before we get into the podcast too much, just tell us a little bit about kind of what you do, what you've done over the years.
Sure. So I started with ColDesi as a e-commerce marketing assistant, and I just kind of dove right into e-commerce tasks, which was something I was pretty much completely unfamiliar with. But I did that for about a year. So everything that had to do with ColemanandCompany.com, our supply site, I was in charge of getting product photos, product descriptions, getting new products launched on the website, things like that. And then I took a different direction, and now I'm senior content specialist. So now I kind of am more in charge of creating content, planning our video calendar, any written content that goes up on any of our sites. I try to get behind, and pretty much just helping us get as much content as possible up on our sites is pretty much what I do.
And then the final bit of that is really what this podcast is about today, and that's social media.
Yes.
So Jess has been a huge part in growing and changing and adapting the ColDesi and our other brands' social media accounts. So today's podcast, episode 188, is called Setting Up Your Social Media Strategy. And this is important because if you're starting a new business, right, you think, I need to be on social media,
right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And or you've heard of people selling a ton of t-shirts or hats through social media.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to do that? And how are you going to do that? And are you going to go viral or go on TikTok live, or are you going to bother with it at all?
Right.
So I think it's a pretty confusing landscape, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that it's a balance as well. Kind of what you plan on doing on social media, and sometimes it's even as you kind of get lucky. You know, you go viral one time and you may not ever go viral again. So there's just a couple of different things you can do to make sure your business has a presence on social media, and it can become really difficult.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of going into this a little bit, we're going to talk about how you develop a strategy, how you implement that. And then you'll also, you're going to deal with a little bit of luck every once in a while, but if you do things correctly with a plan, you're going to increase your chances of lucky things happening to you, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't play the lottery, then you can never win it, right? And that's kind of one extreme of how it goes, but it's true. If you're not doing anything on social media, then nobody's ever going to find you there and become your customer.
Exactly.
So before we get into that, can you guess what I'm drinking in this cup right here?
Probably, knowing you, a Monster or some type of energy drink.
It's pretty close. Monster Java.
Oh, you do like those. I've never had one before.
I love it. And I'm also writing with a Waldorf Astoria pen. So there's some juxtaposition between drinking Java Monster and using a Waldorf pen. But I think that's the breadth of our customers and listeners on Custom Apparel Startups. We have all types of folks, so I got to be relatable.
Exactly. I'm just being boring, and I'm sipping my iced coffee.
From where?
Foxtail.
Foxtail.
Yeah, it's
like a
honey
local?
Lavender.
Oh my gosh, so new age.
It's really fancy. It really is new age.
All right, well, speaking of new age things, this social media thing, all right? When we're talking about strategy on social media, I'll start with kind of step one. And the first thing you have to really think about, which what you're going to do, is talk about who are you selling to? What's your niche? And the reason why I'd say this is so important is because, if your niche are the type of folks that are going to make decisions on social media buy things from there, go to social media to make purchasing decisions, then it's probably you're probably going to want to take one strategy versus if your customers are likely to not make any decision on social media, then it might not matter necessarily as much for you to get like really deep into like becoming, you know, a mini social media superstar in your business.
Right.
So can you think, and I have a couple in mind, but Jess, can you think of any examples of maybe a customer who might make a purchasing decision on social media and ones that might not?
Like the type of person, are you
Yeah,
saying?
or maybe the type of product you're selling even, or whatever. Do you have any thoughts?
So I immediately, when you asked me that, I thought of the type of person. And I know understanding your audience has to do with, you know, some purchasing decisions, their age. I think that plays a really huge role in whether or not they're going to purchase from social media. I think that if you're, you know, selling a product or a service, and your target audience happens to be maybe an older crowd, I don't think that they trust that they can purchase from social media. They don't trust the technology, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, your younger customers, or if you're selling something like a product or a service that's geared towards a younger audience, I can say for myself, we're more likely to I'll buy something off of Instagram.
Right. Okay.
I can have that trust through Instagram. The older crowd's not really going to have that. That's like kind of the first thing I thought about. I'm not, when thinking about what kind of product, that can go a bunch of different ways.
Okay. Well, I've got a thought.
Okay.
I've got a thought. So if your customers are typically going to be folks who are purchasing uniforms for schools, if they're purchasing all of the T-shirts for the folks that work in a warehouse, if it's just maybe people who own like small businesses that are a little more in the the boring business world, like if mortgage brokers and insurance agents and stuff like that, and maybe even like on the contractor world, like plumbers and electricians and things like that. So if that's your niche, they're probably not going to be say, oh, I need to order T-shirts for my business.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and go to Instagram real quick and try to find somebody and then find their Instagram store and purchase something from there, right? They want to do business with somebody who's going to be professional, helpful, offer good customer service, hopefully deliver it in a quick time frame, somebody that they can pick it up directly from and see and talk about the style of shirt that they want to wear, where the the electrician might say, I'm up in attics and in crawl spaces, I want something that that I'm not going to get all sweaty in, moisture wicking shirt. They're going to want to have those conversations. On the flip side of things, if you're selling fashion, or maybe you're selling directly to students at a school, so it's not necessarily that you're just going through the person who works in the main office, but you're dealing with actually having like a social presence to sell directly to the students, where they can buy hats and other type of school swag. So those are going to be two different scenarios where how much selling on social media matters or not.
Right. So,
I mean, that's obviously getting into the weeds, but that's the concept of understanding like who your customers are and what they do. And I think there's another question too to be asked once you kind of ask, who you're selling to, what your niche is, what's your business, but do you want to be on social media? Yeah. Right? And, why do you think that's important?
I mean, I think there's a few different reasons why a business would want to be on social media, especially maybe even a smaller business, for example. I mean, that's where you can maintain and build relationships with customers you may already have. This is a way for you to grow brand awareness and have people, become familiar with your brand. You can turn customers, if it starts going well, you can turn customers kind of into like advocates, where they'll, mention you if they have a good experience. Maybe even, show off what they bought from you, a product or even a service. They'll mention you, they'll tag you, they'll like your posts, share your posts, kind of builds like engaged communities. And then on the flip side, it also just, if a customer has a negative experience and you're not on social media, you don't really get to mend that relationship. That's a missed opportunity, in my opinion. So those are just a few ways or reasons why I think someone or a small business would want to join social media to, be able to build these communities, be able to, respond to any, negative feedback that people might have that you're just missing.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, that if somebody is upset with something that happened, that they could potentially are going to go to Facebook or anywhere and post about it or say something and directly potentially message you or tag you, and it gives you the opportunity to respond. Maybe you didn't even know they were upset. So that's something good. And another about kind of wanting to be on social media, I think is great, is having like a live public platform that's a conglomerate of all the work that you do, a portfolio. And then I think the one thing about, do you want to be on social media, that's kind of the business decision, but then there's a personal decision of like, if you're not into it to be an online personality, then like there's a degree of authenticity that's important for social. So if you don't want to do it and you're trying to force it, everyone's going to know you're trying to force it, and then nobody's going to want to watch or follow or share or look.
Yeah, right? I think it's important to make sure that your team wants to be on social media as well.
So anyone else that works with you, and yeah, I mean, it's all about the plans that you have, right? So if you want to take footage of people running equipment or something like that, or having people talk about the products that you're selling, whether it's just you and your husband or wife, or if you have employees, you have to figure out kind of what are the lines you want to draw on that. So I think that kind of we've done part one and part two a little bit here, right? So we talked a bit about who are you selling to, what's the niche product, who's your audience, right? What kind of products do you sell? How important is social presence for those? So it doesn't matter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, how important is having that there? And then the potential audience that you have, and how they're going to expect it.
Right.
So I would say I think of kind of two extremes on social media. And that's going to be, and you just have to figure out which one is best for you. On a personal note, like, what do you want to do? Right. And then on a secondary note of kind of like, what would benefit the business the most as an entity? Yeah. So the one extreme would be you just create like the two most popular, Facebook and Instagram, and you post pictures, maybe videos of stuff that you make. And that's it. Like that's all it's designed for. It's an online portfolio. This way, if you meet somebody, you're at a party and someone says, "What do you do?" "I make T-shirts," and they say, "Oh, cool. Let me see." You don't necessarily have to go to your photo album where you've got mixed in pictures of like drink that you had at the bar and like your dinner somewhere,
or reach in your pocket for your business card. Then they've got to go to the website on the business card to see your stuff. It's an easier way to display. Kind of what you're doing with your business.
Right. Yeah. Hey, do you have Instagram? Yeah. Go to it. Type in, whatever T-shirt shop. Right. And then they'll pull it up and follow me. And then also they can just see everything that you've done, and it looks really cool. It's reasonably passive. You can also do the same thing on Facebook. So this does two things. It allows you to share your portfolio in a good way, and it also allows any potential buyers from you that are maybe trying to do a little bit of online research will find your Instagram page, see 100 things that you've made, and they say, "Okay, this person knows what they're doing." Right. Yeah. So I think those are like the extremes, like you try to become an online personality and you're literally wearing and selling hats on TikTok through or the Instagram store. And then the other extreme is just like it's an online portfolio. Yeah. And the third option is having nothing at all, which is, I'm going to, generally speaking, advocate not for that. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that it builds trust with customers and potential customers if you're not, keeping up. I mean, this is how I think, at my age. I'm sure there's other people, a little bit even younger than me, like Jalen, who's on our team, could agree that, if you don't see that a customer is keeping up with anything new age, so any newer technologies perhaps, or any of the
social media platforms, you kind of start to maybe think a little bit, maybe I won't purchase for them. Maybe I can purchase from someone who's, more on top of things, more willing to show me what they're doing on a live. You can even do like a live story. Things like that, I think are important for a small business or just a business of any size.
So some customers are going to want to see that you're keeping up to date with things. They're going to want to see that you're moving forward because they're moving forward too.
Exactly.
And they would like to work, listen, if our school or small business, we're growing small business, and if we're going to try to partner up with somebody to do the custom apparel that we're going to have for not only our customers but also our employees, we want to make sure that they're forward moving with us too.
Exactly.
And we don't want to be stuck with somebody who's going to stay behind while we're moving forward. So I can see that. I mean, there's definitely a vision going forward of people deciding who they're going to do business with. Also, they're going to be curious if you're real or not.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Authenticity for sure.
They they also might think you're a scam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
I
is like a
agree.
real thing too.
Oh yeah.
About, especially nowadays, there's so many people with credit card fraud and all these scams everywhere from starting with Craigslist scam days all the way now it's on Facebook Marketplace. Yeah. It's like everywhere. Everywhere has somebody trying to scam. So having a social presence is another way to kind of it adds another layer of trust.
Yeah.
If you don't have one, that doesn't mean that you are a scam, and if you do have one, it doesn't mean that you aren't.
Not
right?
a scam.
But it's like it adds up over time with all the different things. And if they could see that for 2 years, you've been posting pictures on various platforms, and some customers have been in those, and maybe they recognize another small business or something that was mentioned in a post in their community, then they're going to say, "Oh, okay, I didn't know that. That you also made the hats or the shirts or the mugs for that other business down the road. I've been there before."
Right. Yeah.
Their stuff looks nice on their employees, right?
That's a good point. I didn't really think of that, that layer of trust.
Yeah.
But I do really think that that's a good point. I mean, I know for myself when I'm shopping, I do, if it's for a small business at least, I do always look up the business on Instagram, Facebook, wherever I can. I'll try to read through customer comments if there are any. If I don't see any, that's a red flag to me on most of their posts. But yeah, I can agree that that's something that's super important if you want to make your business not look like a scam.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. It's a good point. I'll say I do the same similarly. For example, I'll be getting married this spring. And
Congratulations.
Thanks. And we were looking at somebody local to make cakes. We really wanted to have a really local small business do it in our area. And that was the first thing that I did with all the folks that I went on. First, I went on to Facebook into a group, and I asked, does anybody know anybody in this area that does this? And I had maybe 10 people reply, right? 3 or 4 of them actually shared their Instagram page. So immediately went right to their portfolio. So
love that.
So the public was easily able to share their portfolio to me. One of them, I found kind of a website that didn't have much on it. And I pretty much just bailed on that one immediately.
It's a red flag.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know, but I have so many options.
Right.
I might as well narrow it down to the one that I can already see their work, and there's a degree of transparency.
Oh yeah.
So some people immediately got out of the ranking without even me making a phone call.
Oh yeah.
And it's not like I said, oh, they don't have an Instagram account, I'm not going to do business with them. I don't think that was the thought process at all. The thought process was, I've got so many that were just recommended to me, I'm only interested in calling 3. To do price comparisons, have a conversation. I'm just going to pick the ones that are the 3 obvious ones for me to make a phone call to. And the one that had barely had a website and no social media presence, I was just like, my attention was already grabbed by the one that had a tagged local cake made just 2 weeks ago in a park that was 2 miles from my house.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, I totally get that.
So now we're at the point, we've gone in some different places right here, but we're at the point where we figured out who your customer is, what you're going to sell to, the potential of what type of social presence you want to have, whether it's a portfolio or you want to try to sell online based on what you're trying to do. Next, I would say is going to research your competition or just other similar businesses. They might not be as direct competition as you think, but see what they're doing. So one of the thoughts that I had is you want to actually sell online, right? So you decided that you're going to kind of make real like fashion forward type of t-shirts and hats, or maybe you're going to do even something completely different, like you're going to do custom canvas prints or drinkware that's really interesting, and you want to sell it actually on social media. Your goal is to not go to a local business like we've been discussing a few times, but your goal is actually to get on social, capture people's attention, and get people actually on Instagram or through TikTok, click a link to buy it right off there or off from your website or something like that. So saying that, you want to see how other people selling similar products, how are they doing it? Yeah. And if they look like they're successful, then, I mean, one of the key strategies is to just essentially copycat what they're doing, right?
Basically, yeah. In so many words. I think that keeping up with what their strengths and weaknesses are, maybe it gives you an opportunity to see what different things you can bring to your social media account. So if you are following, or at least just copycatting a business, and it seems to be working for them, you can also branch out and look at their website or their page in a different, light as well. Okay, so they're doing XYZ correctly, but what are they not doing that this other business is doing? You can kind of copy that too and bring that into your business and become, those two shops all in one, essentially. So basically that's just, I would keep an eye on their pages.
Yeah,
that's
great. I think like the perfect scenario would be if you wanted to sell online, just as you going with that example, is I want to sell a drinkware that has like, this custom art that I do. So I'm going to do this custom art, and I'm going to do tumblers and mugs, and I'm going to customize each of them. All of them are going to be one of a kind. I'm going to offer some that are personalized with names or birthdays or anniversaries. Others are just going to be just the art that I sell. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just the fictional business. I sell the canvases, the drinkware, and maybe even some apparel too with it. So, but you're like, well, nobody's doing this, right? That's the concept. It's like, I'm the only person doing this, right? So you find people in similar industries or adjacent to it. So if you can find somebody who does like hip hop style, where it's all has to do with like rap lyrics and dancing and things like that, find their page, see what they're doing. How are they communicating with their audience? How are they talking to them? How are they sharing the product that they sell? How are they taking money? How are they accepting money from people?
That's a good point.
And then it's not the same as you, but it's adjacent to you.
Yes.
What they're selling is just a completely different audience than yours, right? Yours might be people into art, people who would drink tea with or coffee with flowers in it, something like that.
My lavender coffee. Leave me and my lavender coffee alone.
So your customers might drink, and like the other customers are drinking like Monster coffee
Java, whatever that is.
Right. So saying that, you can just learn some lessons from them.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you list what they're doing. Okay. Well, they're being live on social media. They're telling exactly what they're doing. They're showing the product being made. They're inviting customers to join their live with them and talk about the product, wearing it. And you could say, I could do that same exact thing.
Right.
So you find adjacent customers and adjacent competition that's not your competition but very similar. And then you can find direct.
Yeah.
And you made a fantastic point where if you find, I would try to find at least 3, maybe 5 or 6. Don't get to like 100 or 50. You'll never be able to pick a handful.
Yeah.
And then you kind of Venn diagram it, right? You draw on like this is what they do great, this is what they all do great, this is what none of them do great, here's this individual idea that I have, and then you pair all that together and then you build your own little strategy, which is the next thing to talk about.
Yeah, that's
right?
perfect. What a great segue.
So what are some, we wrote down in our notes here, we wrote down some questions about determining a strategy. So why don't you tell us about what those are?
So the first question is, do you want to sell online? I think we kind of already, went over that. Do you want customers to find you on social media? Are these pages for building trust, or are they just an online portfolio? Excuse me. So it's kind of what we've already talked about in the same, I don't know.
All the questions we were asking earlier
are
now need to go into writing.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say you go into Excel or Word or something like that you have, or on a notepad, and you physically start answering these questions and writing out. Level one of I think of determining a strategy is just write sentences or words. I want to sell online. My customers are really active on social media. I believe my customers are on TikTok. I don't think my customers really use Facebook. I think my customers do use Facebook groups a lot. I'd like to find out about actually selling on Instagram. I just want to build a fantastic portfolios that I can share with people, or my customers can share with people that want referrals.
So basically determining your goal.
Yeah, determining the goals, just write them all down. Things you do want, things you don't want.
Right.
To keep it simple. And then from there, you can start kind of, you've got a vision. Yeah, you've got a vision of what you want to do. You know what platforms you want to go on, and kind of how you want to execute.
Yeah, you know what platforms your customers are going to be on. So that'll help you choose. Okay, I'm going to start on Instagram, or I'm going to start at the basics like Facebook. Maybe you won't even touch Pinterest, because Pinterest is one that people don't think about, or TikTok just yet. Maybe that could develop over time, but it kind of just helps you determine where you want to put this content and what kind of content you want to put out there and who's your audience. So determining your goal is super important for just starting.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's just starting. So start somewhere, but have a little bit of a plan of what the start is.
Yeah.
Don't just start making. I read online that if you want to succeed the most, you should have every single social media and post to all of them 5 times a day.
At this time.
Yeah, sure, but if your customers are in procurement for local utility companies and think they don't care about
they're worried about
that.
Yeah,
it's just so far removed from them making that decision. And have you seen this thing on TikTok where
I'm scared to know what TikTok has so much.
These people, they have like a box of stuff that's like would be in a junk drawer at your house. And then for like $20, they'll like scoop a Tupperware full of it and put it in a baggie and mail it to you. Yeah, and
what side of TikTok are you on?
it's like pen caps and like little squishy toys and
I've
highlighters. The clips. Actually, I just had one somewhere, but like the chip bag clips, these little twisty tie things.
I've never seen that before.
And it's
that's interesting.
There's here's like a Pokemon toy, and this one's missing an arm.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it's just like
and they just put it in a bag.
Yeah,
and sell it to people.
And people buy it.
That is so interesting.
Right there. Yeah.
Well, I guess there's they are saying what's going in the bag, but there's a little bit of an element of surprise.
There is,
and
there's like some treasures in there too. Like this one I was watching, the lady had scratch off tickets that would be in there. So there'd be like 3 scratch off tickets too. And sometimes when there would be a scoop, like every once in a while, they would get like a whole little folded up thing of them. So there was maybe like 10 scratch off tickets in there.
I can see why people.
So like every once in a while, you get like a couple really cool looking pens and a Pokemon toy and 10 scratch offs, and you're like, dang, that's like, I could be a millionaire.
Yeah, or you get a bag that's like 3-year-old candy,
yeah,
or something,
just old candy,
old Chick-fil-A
Just
sauce or
wrappers.
something.
I'm pretty sure that might have been in the ketchup packets and stuff.
Well, I'm thinking of my, junk drawer at
Yeah.
home, and it's not pretty.
So anyway, I think the point being on that is like you could sell anything
Yeah.
online if it makes sense. This one example is entertaining, and there's some luck involved, and then people are just probably enjoy watching
Yeah.
it because it's just this weird, awkward person selling stuff out of a drawer. So in the example of like the person who does like hip hop, rap type of gear, maybe they have people on there like freestyle rapping on their live
Right.
while they're selling their stuff.
Yeah.
So they're doing mixing entertainment. So you find that's the one extreme side of things.
Yeah.
The other is just online portfolio. So now that you've kind of, I guess we can go back on track after that, going down just TikTok rabbit holes. So let's see, we have here. So the next important thing that you want to do is defining your brand.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. When I think of defining, our brand or just any brand in general, I think about when I'm setting up a page, I want it to be consistent. I want my logos to be in the right places. I want my colors, my business colors, to be consistent throughout the page. If I'm going to start a series of how-tos, I want that to look a certain way, be branded a certain way, so that when people see that on their, if it's TikTok, their For You page, or you're just scrolling through the reels on Instagram, or even on your Explore page, if you've seen it a few times, if you've seen those colors a few times, okay, that's ColDesi, or okay, that's Mark's T-shirt shop, etc.
Yeah.
So I think, having those kind of things, having a personality to your brand, having consistency across the board with logos, colors, I think that's all important when, you're trying to define your brand, essentially.
Yeah, so you
make a face for it.
Yeah, you start with the simple level of things. Do you have a logo, or is it more like a personality? Is it more your face, or is it more about the business? Are there certain colors that you use? Are there certain fonts you use? Are there styles of things and the types of content that you want to share?
Absolutely.
So if you're doing, custom drinkware, just using that as an example, you have the name of your company, you have a logo, maybe it's not personal, right? Your goal is to not sell them necessarily online, but you want to have an online portfolio and a place for your customers to share, say thanks, give reviews, things like that. So you're going to want to have the logo of your company as the main image in all these places. If you have any secondary images that can be added to your profile, maybe it's a product shop display or something like that, or a picture of your shop or something like that, or of you working or something like that. And then the types of posts that you want to have for your branding. So in this example, I just want to have really like 3 types of posts. One is going to be something interactive, maybe to try to get some interaction online. Another one is just going to be actual pictures of finished products, and then the third type of post is maybe either going to be me making or showing off a finished product.
Yeah.
And that's kind of going to be my social brand. And it's all going, I'm going to make sure I use the same fonts, the same colors, my logo, take pictures in backgrounds that make sense.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when somebody goes to your page, everything feels like it belongs together.
Exactly. Yeah. You want your page to be, as cohesive, I think, as possible. I mean, you can have fun with it, I believe. Like even on our, our pages, one day we're doing something with sublimation that's super colorful, and then the next day, we're doing an embroidery design, digital heat effects design. Doesn't always have to be so structured and so uniform. I don't want to, have people think by saying, you want consistency, that has to be a certain like uniform kind of way, to where it almost becomes like boring.
Yeah, it becomes like, and you don't want it doesn't have to be like militant either, where it's like, I cannot break from, this. Yeah.
I think it's important, like, to test. Don't be afraid to test. I think we do that all the time. For a while we had We found that just normal social media or Instagram posts, for example, just pictures were working for a while. And then, as you scroll up to our most recent, we've moved on to Reels. So I think that it's just important to test as long as it makes sense for your business, and as long as you're, still making sure that you have the same kind of face, the same kind of familiarity for customers and potential customers to find you, then you're on the right track.
Yep. And this is a great place to go and look at other brands, whether it's competition or just any brand in general, any business that's on social media that you think does a good job. When one does a good job, you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to explain. So when you see one that does a good job, try to write down notes about why.
Yeah.
I like that they, I always find that their brand color is pink, and almost every picture has that shade of pink in it somewhere, whether it's like literally a scarf on the table next to the product or the product itself. So look for things like that. Let's see, make sure we have here your brand. Yeah, so your brand is all about what do you want it to look like, who is going to look at it, what's the personality of your brand, and just making sure that your whole business on social media is cohesive, it makes sense.
Yeah. Which I think brings us into setting up your account.
Yeah.
It kind of just flows into that, making sure that you have, high quality images. You're not just going to throw up a photo that you took, I don't know, just randomly. You want to make sure that you have some kind of, process to it. Make sure you have high quality images. Make sure you're including keywords in your descriptions, in your bio, I think is important. Any links, if you have a link tree, that's, also really something that we found like pretty cool to use as well. Any initial posts you want to have scheduled at first, kind of have a plan, write out a plan. All right, so I'm going to start with Reels, I'm going to do this in day one, or post 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think all of these are important in setting up kickstarting your social media business or portfolio.
And so, that's a great point. And you brought up something about testing too, which we're going to get into next again as well. But so what you do is you hit the button on Instagram to start a new page, right? And then kind of just start going through the steps. And before you hit publish, make sure you take notes of everything that they want you to fill out.
Yeah. Oh,
right. So they want you to make a name. They want you to have an image. They want you to have a secondary image, write a description of who you are, and make your first post. So write all that down. That's what I need to start Instagram. And to future-proof this, it might be different in 1 month. So so rather than listing exactly what it is, the best tool you can do is actually to start to pretend to set one up, even if it's like a dummy one that you never publish, and just hit delete at the end or cancel. The same thing on any other account that you're going to do. Start to go through some of the steps so you can figure out what it is, or potentially even just research on YouTube how to set up an Instagram account the best way, and be sure to sort your video by the most recent in case there's any changes.
Yeah.
But you want to make a list of everything that you want to do. Look back at your plan. Make sure that what you have is going to make sense to it. Look at how you're going to do your branding, and once you're all set up and planned, then you can make your page, but before you do it, you should probably work on a bit of a social media calendar.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually have that in my notes. I think without a calendar, I can't imagine, for example, working here and not having a social media calendar. And that's for all 3 of the platforms that we use, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It just helps with consistency, making sure that you're, consistently posting, making sure that it's, going out on time. I don't want to say, okay, we're going to print a design on one of our machines for St. Patrick's Day. Oh, well, it's already the 16th. I got to hurry up and get this post up. It's kind of too late. You want to be, ahead of the game. So, for example, for that, we started creating content for that this month. And, just kidding. It's the 1st of March.
Oh.
So, I forgot. In February.
We did it last month,
Yeah, we did it last month. And we, you just kind of start scheduling and getting ahead of the game so that it also just doesn't create you don't have to just go in all on one day and post, create all these posts. You have things kind of scheduled out. You know what you're going to do. You know what you're going to film. It just makes the process easier. I couldn't imagine just not having a calendar and working willy-nilly, just, oh, I'll post this. Oh, I'll post that.
Right.
I don't know.
You just want to have a plan. You want to have
Yeah.
a daily, weekly, monthly type of a plan. If you, and I would say currently, March 1st, 2023, if you're listening to this a decade in the future, the AI is deciding everything. Okay.
Yeah. Excuse me.
It also decided that you should be listening to this podcast from the distant past. But today, I would say if it's an online portfolio, have the schedule to post something to social media, bare minimum once a week.
Yeah.
Twice, 2 to 3 times a week, if ideally, right? But at least once a week. Preferably twice. This way, at the end of a year, there's 100 things up there.
Yeah.
Right. If you're doing it like about twice a week, at the end of the year, you've got 100 pictures on Instagram, which is a pretty nice thing for a year later down the road when a customer says, "Yeah, purchase from so and so shop. They did a great job for me, and they linked your Instagram account." And this stranger on social media who you don't even know this is happening, clicks on it, and they see 100 things that you've made. And they're like, this person's like legit.
Yeah,
like they're
exactly.
good.
Going back to the beginning where you were saying you were picking out, wedding
cake,
cakes. You didn't go for the business that barely had a website built out, that barely had a presence on social media. Like, yeah, you could, do the minimum posting. But I mean, I don't want to look at an Instagram page, a TikTok page that has like 2, 3 Instagram or 2 posts. 4 posts, 5 posts, even 10. I'm like,
Yeah.
They seem brand new. I don't know if I necessarily trust. I want to put my trust into a brand new wedding cake, bakery or something.
Yeah. No, that's actually, and that brings up a point, and it's something maybe not, I mean, it could be a tangent we could go into, but kind of what you described of having in the beginning when you're setting it up, having some posts that you're going to do ahead of time ready to go. So when you start your page, it's not blank, but at least when you're starting it, you've got maybe like 5 things ready to go up or 10 things. And then talking about posting on a regular basis, that's actually one of the biggest challenges, I think, for all businesses.
Yeah.
They say, even us, what are we going to post this week?
Yep.
So I would say this, on your busy weeks with business where you've got a lot of orders, like you should be taking a picture and or video of every order. You don't have to post all of those that week. Like put them in the bank, put them in the folder, and then when you have a moment and you're going to look at your social media real quick, line them up. Say order 1 I'm going to do on Tuesday, order 2 Thursday, order 3 next Tuesday, order 4 next Thursday, and now you've got like 6 weeks worth of stuff kind of written down, and you know what you're going to post. And you can schedule posts on a lot of these platforms too, so you can schedule to release it at a later date, and you can also change it. So if you have a really I just threw my pen somewhere. If you have a really interesting
Got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
If you have a really interesting customer that comes up, you can alter your schedule a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are doing a big event this weekend. I'll advertise it on my Instagram so people can see, and then you just move that post 2 weeks later, right? So if you have a bunch of stuff in the bank, you'll always have a bunch of posts to do. So take advantage of things, and it's okay to like share the same thing at a different angle or from a different light, or from share I'm making it on Tuesday, and then the next Tuesday share the finished product as a follow-up post. There's plenty of content you could do, and especially on the portfolio side. If you're going to be selling online, you probably want to have like a daily plan.
Yeah, for sure.
What are you going to do every single day? Are you going to be going live every day? Are you going to be posting every day? What are you going to be offering every day? And that's going to make sure that when your customer is like ready to make that decision, you're there ready to, take the order.
They're choosing your page, your business.
Okay, so we've got a calendar, and then there's a couple more things to go over. One is going to be kind of what you mentioned earlier, I wrote in the notes here like collaborating with others, but you also said community involvement and things like that.
Yeah. So I know for one, something that we've benefited from is our Facebook groups. There's kind of a community on our custom apparel startups page where we try to be on top of everything, but we're also busy doing our own tasks. We cannot always reach every comment. There's a community there that if you've built a big enough page, built a big enough community, someone else who is familiar or knows the answer or can help one of our other customers, they jump on it. I see all the time in our page. And, you kind of build like ColDesi customers who kind of just help each other out when we're not there for them or we can't be there necessarily.
Yeah, or sometimes I've seen on customer pages where they'll say on their social media,
okay,
it'll say, do y'all make hoodies?
Yeah.
And then another customer will comment and say, yes, I actually just got some from them. I love them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, that community that you've created. But what you need to do is you need to help facilitate the creation of that community. And that's going to be by asking your customers to follow you, asking your customers to maybe leave a review or comment or say, hey, I'm going to post like the pictures of the hats I made for you on my Instagram. And I'd say just be honest. Like I'm trying to grow it.
Absolutely.
And Instagram kind of gives me Instagram points when people comment and like it. So if you wouldn't mind when I post it up there, if you wouldn't mind, commenting and liking on it, it'd be
sharing it to your story.
Yeah, or share it. That'd be a big help to me, and I appreciate it. So you could just ask folks that, and then anytime somebody does comment or anything like that on any of your posts, be sure to respond. Respond to all of them if you can. And in the very beginning, you definitely can.
Yeah.
Right, because there's not going to be that many.
Right.
So respond to that, and then another way to kind of build that online community is by cross-promoting. So if you have a customer who is an electrician, you made hats for them, post their hat, tag them in there, write a note. Hey, if anybody is in the Harbordale area and you need an electrician, I just did a hat job for Joe over there, and he was a super cool guy. And either drop the name of their business, or if they have social media, share their social media, and maybe this electrician he's on social media too, kind of sharing his customer stories, and potentially ask them, say, I'm going to share you, will you share me? And it could be them, doing a job, wearing the new hats, and be like, hey, we just fixed, the electrical issue at this local school, and by the way, we're wearing our new hats, and even one of the kids in the school commented how cool it looked, whatever. So cross-promoting each other like that's great, especially when you're dealing with lots of other businesses, or if you are doing work with somebody who is really active on social media themselves.
Yeah, for sure. So I just thought of something on another way to build your, I guess, community or gain followers, but it doesn't necessarily have to. I'm backtracking a little bit. That's okay.
All right, cool.
Doesn't necessarily have to do with, cross-promoting, but going back to, knowing your competitors. I think one of the things that I have found helpful, and I sometimes go through, our competitors or someone adjacent to us, their followers. Who are they following? If the page, I'm not going to just follow a random person named Bob who has no posts, but if it seems like another shop or something that, is relevant to our business, I'll go ahead and I'll follow. So
I'll you potentially attention. follow the followers of your competition or adjacent businesses.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. So if you sell apparel and there's a shop down the road that sells awards and engraving, kind of adjacent, right? So because you figure that the award. A little league is going to use both of those businesses, right? They need awards and they need apparel, and maybe both of you might not do the same thing.
Yeah.
So what you do is you can go to this award shop and you can look at their social media. It's pretty good. They got a good amount of people there. It's adjacent to my business. Who's following them?
Yeah.
Well, there's 3 Little League teams that are, that are following them. So I'm going to click on their profiles, look at them, and then right from my business profile, I'm going to follow that Little League. It's going to pop up that this custom apparel shop follows them. And that little moment right there could be the spark that ignites them to look at you, see how good of a job you do, realize how dissatisfied they are with the apparel that they currently have potentially, didn't even know you were in business. They found you, and they start following you back. And next thing you know, like the next time that their customer messes up or their vendor messes up and gets the hats wrong again for the 3rd time, they're going to give you, and they're going to remember you, and they're going to have seen how good your hats look, and they pick up the phone and they give you a call or even send you a message on social media and say, hey, I'm sick of doing with this business that doesn't seem to care about me. I'm looking for somebody who does. And looking at your social media, it seems like you care about your customers.
Yeah.
So a little bit of this work that you can do in social can really pay off.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Even with influencers,
Yeah, there we go.
tongue-tied, influencers. You can also follow some influencers that are, maybe a little bit popular in the type of industry you're working in, and maybe try to connect with, them as well. It's another way to build, brand trust on social media. If this social media influencer is doing this, I should do this. There's a lot of people that think that way.
Yeah.
We're maybe not easily, but some of us are easily influenced to, trust what this, influencer, this popular influencer is saying. We trust we see them all the time. We see bigger brands, partnering with them. So maybe, trying to connect with even some of the smaller ones.
Yeah, I mean, just honestly, and influencers can be on the social media side, meaning they have tons of followers, right? But it also could mean that they're just an influencer in your community. So the amount of followers they have is maybe very small, maybe 400. But they are the principal of a school, or they are the person who is the head of the homeowners association. So the people that are following them are actually a lot of people in your community,
right.
And if you're interacting with them online, they associate you with this person that is of authority that they trust, and it can turn into business for you.
Yeah.
So there's one side of it where it's like, yes, I'm going to connect with this person who's in the music industry that has 1 million followers. That would be great for my business. But that might not really matter too much to you if you're mainly selling to local stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right? What would matter more to you would be principals, politicians, business owners,
like that big
famous
face
people in
the
your
community.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The realtor that has their face like on every billboard as you're driving
on the
down.
Bench.
Yeah, the bench man.
I haven't seen that in a while, actually.
I don't drive by a lot of benches too much.
Me neither. Now that I think about it, otherwise, maybe I just don't notice.
I just don't drive in the city as much. I
true. I try to avoid.
I live in the suburbs now, and I drive on the highway to get through it, so I don't see the benches. Well, all right. There's two last things to discuss, and then we're about to wrap up. So, you had mentioned before just about experimenting with new ways to engage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some ways you can experiment? And by engage, we mean getting people to follow you, like you, make comments, message you, whatever it is. That means interact with you.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts of ways to experiment, things you could try?
Yeah, I actually, I actually did this holiday contest on Instagram, and that was kind of a first, I think, or either maybe a second for us. Like we did that for the second time, but years apart. So I think contests are a good way to try and get people to engage with you. Click on your page, click on your website. You're going to need some patience, though, especially if you're starting off, you're a little bit newer on social media. For us, we did it on our Coleman and Company Instagram page, which has a little bit, less of a following than ColDesi and Digital Heat Effects. And it took a little bit for the post to pick up. But once I started sharing that contest, once I, sent it to people, I even went ahead and sent it to my own friends that I know make their own T-shirts or hats. They shared it to a bunch of different people, and that's how we got that page to that post to kind of pick up a little bit. Then the comment section was crazy. People were tagging all of their friends trying to win our contest. So I would say maybe try with contests, polls.
Ask people their opinion.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I'm thinking about adding a drinkware example before you put art on tumblers, and you kind of say which one of these should be the next one I put on my website, and ask the people that follow you. Go ahead and a contest one is interesting. You can do something for a free giveaway or coupon or something like that. There's plenty you can experiment with. Working with an influencer, like the cross posting, see how that works. If you cross post with this person, and if it makes sense to do it. By cross posting, I mean you post about them, they post about you, and you probably do that the same day or something like that.
You can boost posts too.
Yeah, and you could do boosting, which is basically paying money to social media to show it to more people. Yeah. So you can experiment with that and see what it does. If you have a portfolio page that is just a bunch of pictures of stuff you do, I probably wouldn't spend a ton of money sharing that.
Agreed.
Because that's not the goal, is not to sell online. Your goal is not necessarily to get customers online, but build trust to potential customers when they look you up or it's shared. Versus if you're actually trying to build a following of people, where you do something where you are making your drinkware live, and it's interesting to watch, and you have customers on there that are artists that are doing things, and it's a internet show that you can buy the product, then boosting the post would make sense to get more eyes to that.
And something I noticed that some small businesses are doing on TikTok is they're going live on TikTok, and they're tagging one of their customers. They're tagging their handle in their live, and they say something like, "I'm making your custom tumbler today," and I don't know. I've seen a ton of people just watch the live, just tune in. It's them just sitting there making that person's tumbler or mug, for example. That's kind of interactive. It gets people, excited. Yeah. It gets your customers excited. It even gets people who are just random. I'm pretty random. Yeah. I probably am not going to buy from her, but I watched it. Yeah. I thought it was cool.
The fact that you watched it also will get other followers, because TikTok maybe the algorithm will kind of say, this was interesting to get 300 people to watch for 3 minutes. Yeah. The next time this goes live, we're going to give it some more juice, because the goal of most of these platforms is to keep you on them. Right. So if people watch your stuff for a little bit, then they'll show it to more people. So great. So there's a handful of ideas and thoughts, and look at what other people do and see if that's something that you want to try. Yeah. And then the last thing to do is to track performance. For one, I think the number one rule of this is you have to be super patient. In the beginning. Absolutely. Yeah. You're gonna nobody is going to care. You're gonna have 0 likes on something that you thought was the best thing you made.
I've felt that way before.
And you're gonna have you're gonna ask a question and nobody's gonna answer. Which one do you like better? And you have one person that says the green one, and it almost feels embarrassing for someone else to see that, right? There's definitely, but there are a couple things to remember are, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, their goal is not to make you as famous as possible. Yeah. Their goal is to make money through ads and then please investors, right? Yeah. And the way that they do that, the way that ads, what are the most expensive ads on TV? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. Super Bowl?
Super
That's,
Bowl.
okay,
Yes.
that's what I was thinking.
Super
But
Bowl. Why? Because
everyone's tuned in.
Everyone's tuned in,
Yeah.
right? It's one of the most watched things ever, so it's the most expensive ads.
Yeah.
So if Facebook wants to make the most money from ads, they want to have the most eyes on
Yeah,
phones,
that makes sense.
which means that ads are worth more money, right? So that's their goal, right? So their goal is not to make you famous. Their goal is to make money, and so. Over time, you will start building internet points that add up to say that it's worth it, right? And if your page never becomes worth it to them for whatever reason, right? It's a computer deciding this.
Yeah.
Then that's when you make it worth it by you paying for it.
Exactly.
By boosting it.
Yep.
And then that gives you the shot to potentially grow faster.
Yeah.
You put $20 into this. It went from 2 views to 1,000 views.
Yeah.
A good amount of people commented, and then that gives you a little more points. So you're kind of the internet, the AI is going to say, all right, I mean, people seem to like this.
Yeah.
The next time they boost it, we're going to show it to more people, and the next time they post, more of these people that followed are going to probably be shown it again. So it's kind of a thing over time, but don't be discouraged by it. The fact that it will be particularly slow, and anybody who realistically, if somebody tells you that they started up their social page and they got to like 10,000 followers their first month, I mean, they lied.
They bought it.
Or
they bought the followers.
Yeah, or they just got really lucky.
Yeah.
Right. So being lucky is not the rule. Right. Like the lottery example in the beginning. Like, yes, people win the lottery every week.
Yeah.
The chances of it being you are like 1 in like 70 million or whatever the number is, right?
Sad.
And the same with is kind of like getting famous on social media quickly or without purpose, is like, sure, you may have or heard of somebody who did it. They may be lying.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, let's be honest, like people lie.
Like,
that's like
absolutely
not even a secret. Like people lie. So they may be lying. They may have paid for it, or they may have been lucky. And then chances are, if you look at somebody who has a really successful social media account, the biggest chance is that they put a lot of work into it over time and were very discouraged for a long period of time. And they did the right things. They kept reaching out to people to collaborate. Yeah. They kept tagging people, commenting, going through their followers and following them.
That person, whoever said that, probably didn't mention all of what Mark is talking about.
Right. They may not have mentioned the fact that I spent like 30 hours a week. I'm trying to remember who I spoke with somebody who was particularly busy on social media. And they were saying that it was like they spent like 30 to 40 hours a week doing it.
It takes
was like
time.
Customer or something. But they had, and they said, they're like, I spend every video that you see is like 2 hours worth of work, and I do like 10 a week.
Yeah.
So that's like 20 hours of it. Then I probably spend another 20 hours commenting, sharing. So point being is that if you're going to sell online and that's going to be the business you're going to do, it's a full-time job.
Absolutely.
Or it's a good amount of work, and it's going to take some luck. And if you don't, if you put 40 hours a week into it, it's going to ramp up faster than if you put 20 or 10 or 2.
Yeah.
So
you've got to have that expectation set for yourself.
Yeah. Have the expectation for yourself that, because the worst thing that'll happen is you put a good amount of work into it, like even if it's like 2 hours a week,
right?
8-10 hours a month, and then you give up because you thought it was going to happen super quick. So if you go in and saying, I'm going to be number one, I'm going to win, I'm going to make money on it, I understand that if I only put in 2 hours a week, it will be slow.
Yeah.
And if I put in 40, it'll be faster. As long as I have a plan and keep going. So set the expectation, have a plan, and then consider everything that we talked about. Who's your audience? What's your branding going to look like? How are you going to view the results? And the last bit about tracking performance is just look for wins.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Look for wins. I mean, you can get pretty specific with tracking. I don't know if we want to like necessarily.
Yeah, I don't. I would say, I mean, tracking is actually a good episode in and of itself.
Yeah, that
we could
is
talk
actually.
about that. So maybe we'll stay tuned for that in the future. But I would say, generally speaking, tracking. Look at the stats on the post. They'll give you stats on the business side of things in any platform.
Yeah, there's like analytics tools.
Yeah,
that you can
How many
use.
people looked at it? How many? You can just go simple at first.
Yeah.
How many views did it get? How many likes did it get?
likes?
How many comments? How many people shared it?
How many people saved it?
All that stuff. Like you can just look at simple stuff and look for something interesting.
Yeah.
So you post a picture of a tumbler because you make custom tumblers, and normally you get 5 likes, and this one got 20. Mm-hmm. So why?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And
ask yourself why.
Yeah,
what did you
yourself
do
why.
differently?
Yeah.
And then if that worked, try to recreate that.
Yeah. It might not be obvious too.
Yeah.
Which is the interesting thing too, because for us we've seen that, and like there's still some posts I don't understand.
I don't
why.
get why this one did so well.
It could have been anything, you know.
Audio that you used.
It could have been just the color was real eye catching. You used a particular color of green that really popped out in the screen, so more people stopped to look at it because it got their attention for a second. It could have just been the time of the year. You know, you posted something really interesting around Christmas time, and then that was your best post. So how do you recreate that? Well, you're going to say, I'm going to try to do Valentine's Day too. Okay, well, maybe don't expect the same results because it's not as popular of a holiday per se, right?
Exactly.
So look for interesting wins. Look for ways to recreate it, and just have some patience and keep looking and working on it.
Yeah.
So I think that covers about everything. Is there anything else you wanted to add at the end?
I mean, I don't think so. I think like just piggybacking off of you know, be patient, have a plan, just set an expectation for yourself that the amount of time you're going to put in is, you know, might be a lot if you want to get bigger, if you want to, you know, might happen over a year, might happen over 2 years or a few months, honestly. Just set realistic expectations, realistic goals, and just do the research and do the work.
Yeah. Do the research and do the work is a great thing to do. And also go all the way back to the plan, because if the plan is for it to be an online portfolio, then having 100 likes is probably never necessarily the goal. You know, listen, I sell to local businesses. I just want a place to put all my stuff publicly. That's different than my website. And that's what it's going to be. So maybe you're not going to super get into social, and it's like literally, you know what, I'm going to spend less than an hour of a week on it. I'm just going to be posting, building that up. On the flip side, compared to you're looking to sell online. So go back to the goal and determine what it is, and then just follow that correctly, and you'll be good, and be patient with it and take time to learn it.
Don't be afraid to test.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to test out. Try something new if you're really curious about doing it, and then talk to your customers about it.
Yeah,
you know, that's the best way to do it is people that you meet face to face. You can get them to follow, like, share, talk about it, participate with you on social, leave me a review on Facebook. You know, stuff like that.
Exactly.
And then also I say, just if you want to get more reviews on Facebook or more comments or likes, I mean, just literally tell them why. If somebody is super happy and they're like, I love this hat you made, it's like the best, the kids on the team are so happy because their last hats we got like messed up the numbers for like 6 of the kids, and they were so disappointed that like the first game they had the wrong number at it, and like kids have like tape on the back of their hats with Sharpie. I mean, like
you can get so specific, Mark. It cracks me up.
So, you know, that's something that could happen. And now they're really happy, and you could literally just say, I appreciate it so much. I look forward to doing business again. You know what? Like, one of the things I'm really trying to do is build up the amount of reviews I have on Facebook. So if you're on there and you want to leave 5 stars, it would really mean a lot to me too. It'd be a great way to like say thanks,
just be honest
as well. Yeah, just be honest, and oftentimes that person who was really satisfied would be like, sure, I mean, I use Facebook all the time, like I'll do it right now. And what's you know, and they'll find you and literally do it right at that moment. And so just ask for it. So all right, well, I wrote, what did I write in the end here, just to make sure in my notes here? So
basically everything we said.
Yeah, it sounds good then. I think we nailed everything. So go ahead and you can take a look. Go to ColDesi or on social media and on Instagram. or TikTok or Facebook, you can go to ColDesi. Coleman and Company
Yep.
is another.
Digital Heat Effects.
Digital Heat Effects. Those are the big accounts that we spend time on. You can take a look at some of the stuff we've done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, I mean, some of our stuff doesn't have tons of likes or
Right.
interaction. You know, it's a little bit portfolio style. Some of the stuff we do have a lot of interaction on, so not every post needs to be a win. And we're in a niche industry. We're in
Yeah.
a customization business.
Exactly.
We're not selling something that every single person is buying. So I don't expect us to have as many likes as something entertainment, like someone who's an amazing dancer or singer.
ASMR. People love that.
That'll be a whole podcast too then. Well, great. Thanks for listening, and definitely go to ColDesi.com if you're interested in learning about the different types of customization equipment that we have to offer, and feel free to send a message on any of our accounts on social media. Ask us any questions that you have, and if you really want to directly speak about equipment that we have to sell, then that's not going to be Jess or I that do that. That's other folks in the business. So if you go to ColDesi.com, you can live chat with folks if you want to talk about customization equipment. But thanks for listening. My name is Mark Vila.
And I'm Jess Santiago.
And we'll see you in the next episode of Custom Apparel Startups.
Thank you.